sinners and saints. Dust off those horns and halos. It's time for Alan After Dark.
You know, it feels like sometimes, sinners and saints, that I just manage to ruin everything. That may sound arrogant, cocky, vain, etc., and I may be giving myself too much credit. But sometimes it does. It feels like that I can say a couple of words and it leads to some sort of chaotic, ridiculous, stupid result. I don't know how else to explain that, but like, for example, I was talking to a person who I used to work with. He surprised me and showed up at the Pride festivities one year, and I was so happy to see him, and I said something about being treated like a redheaded stepchild. After that, he brings over his stepchildren who were both redheaded. Yeah, I didn't know how to react, so I just played it off like just a simple old quote people say when we talk about being mistreated or something like that. I didn't want to make it any bigger of a deal than I had made it. And I just hoped that he would have understood where that was coming from. It wasn't coming from a bad place, but I did have to check myself after that. I would never use that phrase again except for when I just mentioned it here. That made me feel like the biggest fool in the world. And just FYI, he's never spoken to me again. I've never heard from him. He may want me to eat shit and die. And you know what? I probably should have. But do you have those moments? Do we all have those moments where we've made an ass of ourselves and it wasn't intended? I really didn't mean any harm. I didn't. But it come off the wrong way. I wish there was a way I could turn off that part of my brain sometimes and respond to certain people in certain situations with just a generic kind of response, a generic conversation. But I guess you could say I'm not built that way. I'm not the mouth from the South for nothing. I mean, you would never hear Joan Rivers ever apologizing for anything she said, would you? Now, granted, if somebody else told a joke about her daughter or something, she would take offense, and I was always surprised about that, but I guess it depends on where it's coming from. I suppose if it's a reporter and not another comedian, that would be different, right? It would. So in my effort to be funny sometimes, I've slammed the whole foot and leg and everything in my mouth. Maybe that's why so many hot guys have shoved their dick in my mouth just to shut me the fuck up. You think? But how you doing, sinners and saints, bitches, whores, sluts, pole smokers, ass munchers? You feeling well? You feeling sexy? You feeling pussy? You feeling dicky, wicky, mickey, licky, etc., etc., etc.? The reason why I'm bringing this up, I believe, is that sometimes a circumstance will just arise out of nowhere. You know, and I thought, isn't that the stuff of sitcoms? Comedies are just the quintessential misunderstanding and chaos that makes for humor, funny, good times. But in the real world, it's just a pain in the ass, and there's no one to stand around with a laugh track to trigger when people should laugh or groan or whatever else. How do you feel if someone, say, overhears a conversation about, I don't know, let's say brunch, and they seemingly just decide to invite themselves? How does that work? How do you just accept it? I mean, if you're friends, it'd be okay, but be upfront about it. Be specific. Say, I want to come along. Because if there's a reservation that's needed, it might have to be adjusted. But then if they just hint and they haven't been invited, do you assume that they're not going to show up and leave your reservation the way it is and then hope to God they don't show up? But what if they do? I don't know. It's just an example of what I'm thinking about today, about misunderstanding and the pandemonium that could cause. Honestly, in all good fairness, it's just brunch, right? If we have to wait for a couple of extra 10 minutes or so, or just eat at the bar, we'll just do that, right? It shouldn't be that big of a deal. But for someone like me, things like that, I'm so regimented and so OCD about it. I would just probably come undone trying to figure out what we need to do. But it's reservations. It's not planning the invasion of the Falkland Islands. If I can ever point to one of the best things that my dad ever taught me, it was about patience. And I'll give you an example. One time, it was in the middle of summer, and I was visiting my parents. I was getting ready to leave, but my mom suggested I start the car and turn on the air conditioning. I didn't push the door all the way closed, but somehow it did close. Well, I was locked out. The keys were inside, and it's running, and the air conditioning's going. Now, I have AAA, and if I had to call them, it would have taken them 45 minutes to get there, and my car is just sitting there running. I'm going to run out of gas, right? Well, the way my dad taught me is, first of all, don't panic. Let's be patient. Let's assess the situation and try to come up with a solution. That's what we did. I didn't go around going, oh my God, what are we going to do? It was like, okay, this is what's happened. Is the door really closed? Yes, it is. Is the window all the way up? Almost. Well, let's figure out how to get the door unlocked. And we come up with a wire hanger, changing it, adjusting it. And my dad was able to push it through and tap the unlock button, and the car unlocked. That's the approach we should take to every situation, shouldn't we? We shouldn't be so quick to scream gloom and doom, but let's just figure it out. And if we have to wait a little longer, so what? Of course, that's easy for me to say. I need to apply this same rule of patience with my tongue and my brain, where I actually maybe think things through before I blurt out some kind of stupid bullshit that gets me in trouble. I remember this time I was chatting with a coworker. This was years ago, and I'm not sure why we were talking about such personal issues, but sometimes they just come up. And we were talking about my aunt. And I just said, she got back together with her ex-husband. How can somebody in their right mind go back to somebody that they've divorced? It just seems like the dumbest thing, because the reasons you got divorced are still there. Those don't go away. Well, come to find out, a couple of days later, the woman I was speaking with had done the same thing. She had reunited with her ex-husband, and they were still together. How am I supposed to know that? I didn't know it, but that's the dangers of having an opinion about something and not knowing the circumstances about someone else's life. Maybe it was good for her to hear someone say that. Maybe it was a wake-up call for her. She's probably dead now. Anyway, my aunt learned the lesson. After the second time, broke up for good, and she married someone else. They divorced, and at the end of her life, she was a single person, and I think she's all the better for it. But what do I know? I'm cynical that way anyway. I don't know about you, but there's people in my life that some of them I don't mind making them mad, but I don't like to be a person who inconveniences anyone else. I do hate being late, and I do hate making issues for others, even if they are unintended. I don't like that. I don't want to be that person. And unfortunately, it seems like I am that person almost every time. And I don't know what I can do to change that. There's nothing really, right? I guess hold back certain opinions because you don't know the story of the person you're speaking with. Well, some people I do, yes, but not everybody. Maybe that's the lesson to learn, is maybe not have these deep personal conversations with someone who, in essence, is a complete stranger, right? I think so. Maybe I should have a television show, a sitcom, about all the dumbass things I've said, unintentionally doing harm to others. If I'd known about this woman getting back together with her ex-husband, of course I wouldn't have said anything. And frankly, it is none of my business. But I'm entitled to an opinion, but I wouldn't have done that to her had I known. But of course, my God, I was just like 19 years old then. What does a fucking 19-year-old know about life and people and their personalities and their behaviors. I don't. My God. I think a lot of times it's not that people take me seriously. Anyway, maybe some of you do, but you know me through this podcast. You don't know me in the real world, although from the way I talk on here, it's quite clear that I'm sharing with you more intimate details about my life than even some of my best friends know. That accounts for something, doesn't it? I hope so. Well, at least happy hour's coming up in a few hours, so there's always that to look forward to. God, I do need a drink. I don't need a drink, I want a drink, okay? Jesus, there's a difference. I don't know why I just said that. You know what? This is going to be off the wall and out of left field somewhere, but do you think porn stars get bored? I mean, during their sex scenes, do you think it really does become just a job and it becomes harder to stay erect, to enjoy sex? Can you become bored with orgasms? I don't know. That seems like an impossibility. I think your body can become tired and sore and ache from having too many orgasms, but can you get a kind of mindset to where it just feels like a job? I mean, for some of them, I'm sure it is. You know, I was surprised. Dante Cole and is it Solomon Aspen or Aspen Solomon? Either way, both of them are really hot guys. And I discovered that they do bisexual porn as well. And then you have Alex Adams. He is an absolute stud, and he does some kinky straight stuff, mommy porn and all that shit. But then I discovered that he does gay porn. And I just wonder, it's not just so easy just to have an orgasm, right? If you're not attracted to the people that you're with, right? Can you really tune that all out and just focus within your own mind about what you're doing? Can you pretend that much that you are doing something outside of your sexual orientation? Or maybe they all are bisexual. I mean, maybe they are. It's always a possibility. I was just a bit surprised to see some of them. Well, you know, like the famous Peter North, one of the big straight male porn stars back in the 80s and 90s, I would guess. I'm sure he's still alive. Then when it came out that his introduction to porn was in gay porn, and he was called Matt Ramsey, and he was doing bareback porn with limits. He never sucked a dick that I ever saw. He always got fucked. He was a bottom, and he did fuck men, and he kissed a couple of guys, but he never put a dick in his mouth. And he denied it for years that it was him, but it was clearly him. When I saw the first video, I'm like, wait a minute, that really is Peter North. And there's that one male porn star who he's had sex with tens of thousands of women. He goes by TT Boy. I think he calls himself T more than anything now. He did a jack-off video for gay porn, but he said he absolutely would never touch a man. But, you know, I find that statement a little bit disingenuous because he has done hundreds of three-ways with one woman and a guy. And his schlong has slopped all over another guy's schlong. Their balls are popped against each other. And they DP'd. And in a DP, they're rubbing their dicks against each other. So when he says he would never touch a man, I guess he means just one-on-one. Because he's done plenty of man-touching when it comes to three-ways. But I'm just saying. Apparently his brother is also in porn, and he went to gay porn, and they haven't spoken since that happened. I don't know if that's really true, but they do look a lot alike. But I thought, like Alex Adams and Peter North, I thought that they were absolutely straight. And to see Alex Adams, he doesn't do bareback sex, but boy, does he like to swallow. I mean, guzzles it down. Licks it up, all of it. And he's a hot mofo. He really is. But I always would love to talk to them. And if they are listening, hey, you want to do an interview on Alan After Dark? I would love to talk to you, Alex, about this. I would love to know if you view it as just a job and you're just doing a performance like any actor? Or do you really enjoy it? I mean, to me, if you've had an orgasm, you've enjoyed it, right? I've enjoyed every orgasm that I've ever had. I don't know about you all, but I have. I've also faked a couple of orgasms.
Oh my God.
I'm sorry, what?
And yes, everybody, men can fake them. It's not that hard to fake one. Unless your partner or partners are looking for jizz everywhere, you can fake an orgasm. My God. I bet the ones that I faked it with, I bet they wouldn't want to know that, would they? But it wasn't their fault. It wasn't. I was absolutely into the moment, but we were kind of in a hurry. So I did my little pretend thing. They thought I got off. It was all good. No, I'm not going into the actual details of how I did it.
Aw, why?
Unless my partners in those encounters just acted like they didn't see it and pretended like I did have an orgasm, even though they saw it. But I'm pretty sure I got away with it, if that makes any sense. I did it in a way that they couldn't see, obviously, what happened. Especially if you've got their jizz in your hand. Then you just use it against them. Oh, that sounded like a weapon of abuse or something, didn't it? But I digress. How do we get into that subject? That's how my brain is working today, okay? I've been watching some porn this week, and I've got my guys that I'm totally attracted to. Oh, by the way, my friend Tim, he marvels that I actually know the porn actors' names. He's like, you're really that into it? And I'm not, well, no, but I'm into certain guys and I want to know them. I want to see their work. I want to see them. And look what I just did there. And did you hear what I just did there? I said their work. Was that subconsciously me saying that? That was implying that in my own mind, it is just work for them. But it's not. I'm talking about their body of art. Maybe that's how I should put it. Their body of work, their artistic expression, if I can say it that way. Or their bareback fucking bukkake, breed, come swallow, hot action. Maybe that's what I'm talking about. I don't know why that's a joke, because that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's why I watch porn. Jesus. And I wouldn't mind watching a live show. So any of my friends out there got a hookup scheduled and you want somebody to watch, I'll do it. I'm into that shit now, you know? But don't lie. If you watch porn, you would watch it live too. And as a reminder, I think I told you all, one year during Pride, I had this goal, this fantasy that I was going to fulfill about a sexual encounter with people watching. And I did it with a guy that I've always found attractive. I thought at one point we might be able to have a relationship, but it never came through to that. But that time was our time. And yes, Jeremy, I know you still have the video. So hopefully one day you'll delete it so it doesn't fall into enemy hands. But hell's bells. Why do I care? All people have got to do is listen to this podcast. Do I ever sugarcoat or hide anything? Except for people's names. So you're not going to get me in trouble. My life is an open book. Oh, my life is an open blouse. Some of my friends do call me Blanche, as in Blanche Devereaux from Golden Girls. Hey, I've been called a lot worse, I promise you. And I deserved it. I really did. You know, we were talking about it actually just the other night at happy hour. If we were in financial trouble, would you start an OnlyFans? And I brought up that I read somewhere the porn star Timothy Champagne, that apparently he makes upwards of $70,000 a month with his OnlyFans. And I'm like, you know what? There are some sick fucks out there. And if I was to lose my job and not be able to find another one, what the hell? Do something like that. Jesus Christ. I mean, hell's bells. You all are sick fucks. You would just watch it for the disgusting nature of it, wouldn't you? I can hear some of you say, or maybe just think, that's some sick shit. My God, that decrepit old fuck. But then again, in the gay world, anybody over the age of 31 is considered decrepit and old, right? But I know you. I know all of you people. You sick, nasty people. Ugh. As long as you've got a valid credit card, maybe I will consider something like that. Oh God, remember that movie? It's probably way ahead of your time, but Treasure Island Media was really known for pushing the boundaries when it comes to porn. And that's saying something, okay? We're talking about porn here. But they produced a movie called Stump, and it was amputee porn.
What?
I never thought I'd see someone's leg stump or arm stump go up a guy's ass, but there it was. My God and baby Jesus. So there was a whole market for that. There's a whole market for my shit, I'm telling you. Full-on market for this ambrosia. Kittles and bits or something like that. Jesus. I mean, I'm hearing these stories about people who sell their cum-stained underwear, their dirty socks. It's beyond belief, but it makes the world go round. And 2 snaps up, people. If you have your OnlyFans and you're making bank, good for you. Damn it. I guess you could say I'm a little bit jealous. Okay, maybe a lot a bit jealous. But what would be the harm? Like granny porn, where they show these young studs fucking these old women. Well, they're making a living, right? Republicans in this country believe you should work till the day you die, even though if you're in the age range of 60 and older, who's going to hire you? These ladies aren't waiting for that. They're out here working the puss. Okay, that was a little bit disturbing, but you get my point, right? Yeah, but they're making their own money. You know, it was like the woman, I don't know what state it was, but she was in her late 70s, I believe, and she was selling drugs. And they kept threatening her, telling her to stop selling drugs, and she refused. She says, this is the way I make a living. Either I'm going to make my living this way, or you're going to arrest me and put me in prison where I'll have a bed and 3 meals a day for the rest of my life. And of course, the police don't want to put her in prison because they're responsible for her health care all the way to the end of her life. That would be quite expensive. And I keep thinking, damn, that woman's got one hell of a good head on her shoulders. That is smart. Now, I'm not condoning her selling drugs that's harming people, but I get it. Don't you get it? She's found a way to try to survive when our society looks down on old people anyway. What is she going to work? A Kroger, a Walmart, a McDonald's in her 70s? Hardly. For what? Not even minimum wage? Are you kidding me? So whether it's the drugs, which I don't approve of, or maybe granny porn or grandpa porn. Damn it. You're getting to have an orgasm, hopefully, and you're making money. Win-win, in my opinion. I just can't believe we're already at the end of this week's episode. I hope you've had some fun. I've made you laugh or chuckle or throw up or something effective. Either way, at least you're listening to me, right? Well, as always, remember, take life by the balls and be real. We'll see you soon. Thank you.